And welcome to Studio 5. With the warmer temperatures in the air, we've stepped outside the studio this week with lots to share. We have an award-winning documentary on the lives of Blacks on the ice in the game of hockey. We also have a new romantic comedy from PureFlix, and Academy Award-winning actress Mira Savino sits down with us to talk about her life-saving work on and off the big screen. Let's begin with Black Ice. It is a documentary on the lives of Blacks on the ice in the game of hockey, going all the way back to the 1860s with a surprising connection to the Black church. The filmmaker sits down with us to bring us inside the story.
I'm skating down the ice. I see an object fly by me. I'm like, what is that? I take a glance. I'm like, it's a banana.
How did you come to the knowledge of, I guess, the history of racism in hockey and Blacks' enormous contribution to the game?
You know, it came through actually a producer approached me about the project.
Whatever happens, we got to put our head down and shut our mouth. Is what's wrong with our game.
Akeem Alou claims that Flames head coach Bill Peters directed racist language at him.
Hard stuff to talk about. Racism. It's ingrained in the game.
Once you started hearing the stories, the more and more people that I would talk to in the initial research, then the more and more information that would come out. And I realized, this isn't I think we often talk about these things as isolated. This was an isolated incident. This happened here, this happened here. And I thought the documentary was a chance to actually bring those stories together so we could actually get the bigger picture of the problem of anti-Black racism in hockey.
I had to keep my mouth shut and just move forward.
It's a cultural problem within the sport of hockey that goes unchecked.
I guess it hit me so hard just seeing the pervasiveness of it. The fact that it not only extends to history, but when I see this young kid who wants to play hockey, I'm thinking, and you're still experiencing this?
Yeah, that's what I thought was really important is in the film is that you do feel that it's present. We're talking about present times. This
right.
is, these stories are happening currently. They're happening to, quite young players that incidents are happening. And so it needs to feel immediate because it is immediate.
Meanwhile, 17,000 racist tweets were posted.
It's meant for you to feel like you need to stay in your place.
This is our sport. We go all the way back to the 1800s in the Colored Hockey League. So don't let anybody ever tell you this is not your sport, because this is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Many elements I'd love to talk about. One is the surprising influence of the church.
Yeah, really what I discovered was it starts as a church league. So basically, the church, I think, plays such an important part in the Black experience. And so what it really starts as is the idea that the church is trying to gain, mobility and more followers within the community and to really organize. And they realize through sport is one of the avenues to do that, to get, especially young men involved in the church and coming out and participating. So that's really where the league spawns from, is this idea of different churches in different Black communities on the east coast of Canada.
One of the interesting things about the Colored Hockey League, the innovation in terms of the sport.
They had adopted the white rules and had a looseness in their interpretation of these rules.
Phenomenal stories throughout. Was there anything that you could think of that you weren't able to include that you, looking back, if there were more time, we would have seen?
Yeah, there was a few things. Some of it was content that I wanted to delve into more that I was interested in. And then there were just more stories. Our story is really the beginning of hockey. We touch on Willie O'Ree and Herb Carnegie, like early pioneers, and then we kind of skip to the present players. But there's actually a long line of players through the 80s and the 70s. But again, you just kind of run out of time and resources, and I guess you need like a series or something to cover all of that. But yeah, I think those stories are equally as important.
What was the biggest surprise for you?
I think I was surprised at the contribution, not just at the beginning of the Colored Hockey League, but all the way through. It has always been there. The Black presence of hockey has actually never gone away. It's just no one has spotlighted it in a way and celebrated it as much as it should have been.
That said, now that the project is done, released to the world, what's your hope for this documentary? What is there a hope for it?
I think there's a couple things. One thing is I would like young people to who might be pursuing it and in that world to see themselves and see other heroes and people that they can look up to. I think that was so important, like that they understand, oh, like I'm not alone in this story. I think that's really my hope, and I hope that they also have pride in knowing their involvement in the game and their contribution to something. I think that's so important, right? Like to understand there is a rich history of the Black experience that kind of touches on all sorts of things that we don't think about. And this film is talking about hockey, but really you could take that into anything else. And you could dissect it and say, oh, what is the Black contribution in medicine? What is the Black contribution, in travel, anything? And so I hope there's that sense of pride at the end of it and understanding, and also that to keep exploring that and uncover more of those stories.
My dream is that you can be yourself.
I'm out here.
Yeah, I'm a Black hockey player, and I'm gonna show you.
I think it's really important that we reclaim our place in history.
It's something we have to do for the younger generation coming up.
And Black Ice is in theaters this week, Friday, July 14th. Still to come.
Hey guys, it's Liv. 360,000 followers. Cute. Tag me in that.
The cast and creators of The Divine Influencer join us with a Studio 5 first look at this romantic comedy. And welcome back to Studio 5. Sometimes you have to lose it all to learn that God has a plan. It's a lesson learned in the romantic comedy Divine Influencer, where a social media star is forced to make her own way after losing it all. Laura Silva of the hit series The Chosen is in the starring role. Here's your Studio 5 first look.
Hey guys, it's Liv. 360,000 followers. Cute. Tag me in that.
Divine Influencer, your character is who?
I play Olivia Golden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The star.
Yeah. So I want to try and smash that subscribe button. Stay tuned. Who bought all this adorable stuff? It's moi.
Wow, she was a fun one to play. I really enjoyed playing Olivia.
Tell me about her. Who is she?
She is very self-centered. She is an influencer though. She is not malicious. She's just so unaware of everyone else around her. She's got this very self-centered way about her.
I love influencing people, like where to shop, who to know. Hi, Mom.
We're cutting you off financially.
No.
When she loses everything, that's when she realizes she's desperate and starts working at a homeless shelter for all the wrong reasons. But she ends up finding the real true joy of what it means to serve others and be there for each other.
I used to have the most amazing life, a beautiful home.
My life is in shambles. I need to sell some of these. No, Bruno, freeze!
Olivia, I had the locker next to yours. I work at Harvest Rescue Mission.
I was hoping you might have a job for me.
You'd have to live here and...
I'd have to live here?
I'm asking you to put her to work.
When did you know that this was what you wanted to do, or this was what you were called to do?
With acting, it wasn't until my mid-20s actually, and I was at a place where I was really depressed and sad, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going to college for sciences. I loved all my sciences. I wanted to be a nurse, but I realized that I knew I wasn't going to be happy and fulfilled there. But when I made the abrupt decision to quit college, I felt like even more of a loser and a quitter. And I was really sad, and I also I wasn't pursuing God. And when I realized that the gifts and talents that I naturally have lie dormant until I sought him. And that's when I found like my passion for acting, because I asked myself, like, what was I doing when I last felt truly happy? So it was elementary school, putting on performances and dances and shows. And yeah, and I didn't find it until I Googled acting classes near me and started going to church at the same time. So doors opened.
How can I help?
You know, the shelter is a place for second chances. Could influence people here.
You've got to plan something that people believe they can't afford to miss.
Liv might just rescue our rescue mission.
What's your prayer for the project now that you know it's complete, you've done the work? What's your prayer for it?
My prayer is that people realize that we are so much more connected when we are there to serve others, and when we genuinely see the the concerns of what people need, that it's bringing people to Christ, because Christ emanated that. And yeah, and I think it really changes lives when we're there for each other.
Serving here is helping me find God.
Divine Influencer streams to the Cureflix platform July 21st. We have to take a quick break right here, but before we do, it's time to bring you a story in pictures. Here's this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. We head back to the United Kingdom for a look at images of a few icons and legends in the music world, courtesy of photographer and friend of Studio 5, Gary Thomas Kaipa and Robo Magic. There's Sir Rod Stewart, Boy George and Culture Club, Rob Hallett, Dionne Warwick. All of their images are musical, and they're this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Just moments away.
She's just Miranda's age.
Imagine walking into a room right now.
Oscar-winning actress Mira Savino plays the hero behind the hero in the action thriller Sound of Freedom. As an actress in this film, what's it like now when you're sitting in the audience with people watching the story? We're sitting down with her inside Angel Studios, coming up next.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
Welcome back to Studio 5. The film Sound of Freedom hit theaters on Independence Day, earning some $14 million at the box office, coming in at #1. It's the story of former Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard and his mission to rescue children from human trafficking. His wife is naturally a big part of this hero story. Academy Award-winning actress Mira Savino plays that role. She sat down with us to talk about her own life-saving work on and off the big screen.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
So, as an actress in this film, what's it like now when you're sitting in the audience with people watching the story play out? What's it do to you?
I think that the general emotion of the film really hits hard when you see it on a big screen. I actually hadn't seen the film before.
She's just Miranda's age.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed.
But to see people like visibly, like, you know, their hearts in their throats, like watching this unfold and understanding the reality of 2 million children in the world who are trapped in child sex exploitation right now, who are being trafficked and sold to evil people who have not one whit of compassion or empathy for them as human children. It was powerful.
One of the things that you've said I'd like to hear again, because I think it's powerful, is this idea that we see this problem and we just assume that they're lost causes,
right,
and there's nothing we can do.
I think that the human brain has a hard time understanding coming back from something so horrific as child rape of small children. I mean, it's so dark that we're just like, oh, those poor children, oh, but almost like they're already dead. You know, like we turn away because we're just like, we feel powerless to help and so horrified that we'd rather not think about it, you know? And, you know, that's where the traffickers win. That's where the evil people win. And, you know, we all have to rise up and be so disgusted and so moved to help these people that we change the equation for them and we give them that hand out of this trafficking situation, which right now only 0.4% of all trafficking victims in the world enjoy. Only 0.4% of trafficking victims get discovered, rescued, or exited themselves. The 99.6% are going to be trafficked for life or till they, like, you know, get sick or age out or die.
So you thought of that? Of doing it on your own?
I won't be on my own. I just have to convince Pablo.
Okay. So, you quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
I've met these trafficking survivors in my role as Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime on Human Trafficking that have inspired me so much. Their ability to rebound with the proper aftercare, and that's where we also need to take our energy after we see something like this and start helping the people who are already doing the good work on the ground and joining forces with them. I've seen these girls and women and men who come out of this who are brave and confident and smiling and inspired and hopeful, even if they battle with these horrific traumatic memories. But they've gotten a lot of love from other people, and now they're leading a path in their own life to fulfill the destiny that God meant for them and to help bring everybody else who's still stuck. Like almost every single one that I've met has this resurrection story where they're like, they've risen above, even though it's very, very hard. And it's all to their credit that they're able to find that inside themselves, to find that in their soul, to rise up and be like, I can do this. I can not be trapped in what was done to me, but I can, you know, embrace my life and be of help to others. Like, they're just my heroes.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
I know that this is a tall order, but we need a heart change. We need a civilization heart change, you know. We grow, you know, in stutter steps, I think, over the centuries, over the millennia. And this is our time to say no to slavery and no to exploitation.
It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
The Sound of Freedom is in theaters right now. It is expected to pull in millions more. Still to come.
What's the next kid coming up in this game? How can I help that kid to not experience what I went through?
The man behind this award-winning documentary, Hubert Davis, joins us with wisdom and a word learned in this great work. And welcome back to Studio 5. As you know, music fuels this production each and every week. And this week, our soundtrack comes courtesy of Kirk Franklin. Take a listen and you'll hear why All Things is what's playing in my ear.
Talking about doubts that flood my mind. I'm out of funds and I'm out of time. I need a blessing. I need you to do all things.
See, I understand that.
I know days they won't always be easy.
And just in case I fall.
So it's good to know I'll never let you down.
Yeah.
Talking about all things.
All things.
All the big and the small things.
All Things, a great new sound from Kirk Franklin. With that musical note, we are just about out of time for this edition of Studio 5. So let's fast forward just a bit and look ahead to next week's rundown. Fans are running, racing to the box office for this latest installment of Mission Impossible.
John and I are jumping out of the helicopter. He's going to chase me. That's what we say to each other. Don't be careful, be confident. Be confident.
The film's star takes Studio 5 inside the impossible stunts that are pulling people into the movie theaters.
You train and drill every little aspect over and over and over and over again.
They were doing 30 jumps a day.
And we hope you'll make time to join us for that story and so much more next week. With that, we have time for just one more thing. We're going to give that to filmmaker Hubert Davis. He has our final word. One of the beautiful parts of the film is it does end so hopefully because of those who have been hurt now reaching out and doing work to make sure that doesn't happen to other younger people. To witness that and to see what's happening now, what was that like for you as a filmmaker?
Yeah, it was so important to me to see that, to see the grassroots level. I think they were so, all the players were involved in that, and that's really why they came forward in the documentary in the first place, is for young people. Mm-hmm. You know, they did want to see a better path, and so yeah, it was very moving to see them give back and give their time, because again, out of the love for the sport. I think they love hockey, so they want to share it with young people, but they also don't want to put them in positions where, you know, incidents happen and there's no accountability for it. So I think they are trying their best with what they have. But it is a matter of policy change has to start at the top. And I think that's if there's one thing that I'd love to see, it's really understanding that if you don't make policy change, then nothing can change because you haven't laid the groundwork for it. So I think that's still the challenge that we face, you know.
Academy and Emmy-nominated filmmaker Hubert Davis, thank you so much. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching.